Okay, so I wanted to make a video today about Doom and how to get there, just everything about Doom, how to farm the bosses there, how to solo the content on a Sampire. So where we're going to start today is I used a crystal teleporter to get here. I just said Dungeon Doom and it takes me to the instance. But if you want to get here on your map, it shows your relative location to Umbra, so um, you can just run there from Umbra if you want to. Once you're on your way, or once you're here, you go through the entrance here, and you just hop down in this hole. And once we're in here, we're going to go straight to the quest giver, just to the south. This guy, he um, he accepts 1,000 demon bones, and I brought most of them with me today. But every mob in here drops demon bones, so you accept the quest. You give him the 1,000 demon bones. He's gonna spawn a boss, a demon, a demon knight, which you'll see here momentarily when I complete the quest. And he's not too tough. And when you loot him, he puts a blessed golden skull in your bag, and then you can use that to go to the boss section of Doom. Now, while we're gathering a few more demon bones to complete this quest, we'll talk a little bit about what I did in preparation of coming here, right? So I obviously got some extra demon bones, so we weren't making a video about me primarily farming demon bones, right? But if you were going to come in here and farm Doom, I would recommend doing this demon bone part first and getting some golden skulls, and then worry about doing your prep for the boss side of Doom first, or secondary, right? So what you can do is these monsters that I'm killing here don't drop that many demon bones. And you can see I'm having to loot the corpse, then loot the demon bones off them. You could set up some sort of loot agent or something like that on an enhanced client to make it easier or have fewer mouse clicks to loot this demon bones, right? But there's other monsters in here too that drop a lot more demon bones. When I was farming the big pile of them that you saw in my bags when I first came in, I was farming them from they are lich-like monsters that spawn in a puzzle room in the north side of Doom, and they have like 20, 30 bones on them a piece, and it makes it a little easier, right? You don't have to farm nearly as many monsters, right? So as you see, I just turned in the 1,000 demon bones. I got 1,000. Quest complete. Boom. I hit OK, and then he spawned a bone demon down there on the altar, which you can see it in the bottom part of the screen there. I'm gonna go down there and kill it now. It's nothing tough. It's Undead Slayer. Alright, so just be wearing a couple of Undead Slayers. Fire damage does good here. And energy damage would probably be fine here as well. And this guy should go down pretty easy. He's got quite a lot of HP, but otherwise not too difficult. And when you kill him and then you double click his corpse, the skull will appear in your bag. Okay, so once you have a skull in your bag, you are ready to go into Doom proper. You're ready to go into like the boss area of Doom. In the boss area of Doom is where you're gonna find all the bosses, and that's where you're gonna be able to get your artifacts, your artifact drops. Now, I guess I should mention real quickly here that that's not the only thing you can do in Doom is kill bosses. This is just kind of what you're going to be doing. Like, this is content geared towards Sampires and soloing combat-related stuff. But there are stealables and stuff in Doom that you can get in this part of Doom that we're currently in, and that's all cool. But that's not really the focus of this video, right? This is about the combat stuff and the killing the bosses on the boss side of Doom. So you double click this bell here, and it spawns Kyloth the Ferryman. You drop the golden skull on him, and then you take the teleporters on the boat, and now you're in actual Doom, right? You're in like the boss area of Doom. Alright, so once you're on this side, if you take that moon gate over there, you'll leave, but you'll also need another golden skull to get back in, right? You have to get you have to get 1,000 demon bone and turn it into that quest NPC, and then kill the boss every time you want, or kill that little bone knight to get the golden skull every single time you want to come to this side. but you can stay here for as long as you want. So just make sure you brought plenty of resources. You're well repaired if you plan on being here for a while. I just showed you the vendor. He does, major. He sells scrolls. You can sell things to him, and he sells scrolls and crappy potions and stuff that you would find on a normal mage vendor. Right here is the healing area, like the place you get rezzed. Right, so if you die, you come up here. You can go through the gates that you can't get through these gates alive, but you can get through them when you're dead. You go in there, you find the healer, he rezzes you for a fee, and then you use the teleporter to get out. Okay, so this first boss, he is an undead, right? So I have an undead axe and an undead talisman on for double undead slayer, which caps out my modifier, my damage modifier category. And I also looked online on UO Guide to see what his lowest resist was, and it's fire. So I made an axe that spit that, right? 100% elemental fire axe with Undead Slayer on it, and then I have an Undead Slayer talisman. So I'm maxing my damage on this guy. And you all should be taking a similar approach to when you come to these places. Don't go in completely blind, because you're going to waste a lot of time and resources farming all those demon bones, getting that demon skull, get here, and then not have the correct weapons and everything you need to actually complete the content. And it's going to force you to then have to figure it all out, then go back and get another skull again to come back with all the weapons, the correct weapons, and then do the boss, right? So save yourself some time, go to UO Guide, and get you the right weapon set for what you're doing. So for this next boss, same kind of thought process. I went and looked online. His lowest resist is physical, and he drops, he is a demon, right? So you get a demon cameo or a demon, an Anbal's In, which is a cheap demon cameo, and a demon slayer axe that's 100% physical. You go in here and kill him. And he's pretty easy too. The only thing you really need to watch out for with this one is he does do really high spell damage, right? So he can combo you with spells pretty quickly. And if there are two of them, you have to be really careful. He might the two of them might sync dump you, and you might get insta killed, right? So you just want to, if there are two of them, you might think about pulling them solo, one at a time, that is. So you just keep this process going. Now on the next boss is the actual boss. It's the Dark Father. He's also a demon. He's also lowest resist fire. But in this situation, he summons undead monsters. So I'm going to wear a demon axe, an undead talisman, and then I'm going to honor him, which I just did honor him before I got into combat with him. And that's going to get me the extra damage modifier. So I'm hitting my damage modifier cap on the boss, and I still get half of a damage modifier on the undead monsters that he spawns around me. And this boss should go down pretty easy too. You want to make sure you're got apples to get rid of Blood Oath, but past that, he's nothing too stringent. Just AOE when there are monsters. He could spawn. It could be two of these guys at once, and it gets a little rougher then, right? Because you can only honor one of them, but still should be perfectly doable. Just a little slower. And so, like I was saying, in the preparation for this, I would go to like UO Guide. I'd look up Dungeon Doom. I'd see, hey, look, there's these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different kinds of bosses. I'd figure out what the Slayer is for each one, what their lowest resistance is for each one, and then if I needed to, I would make an axe specifically, which is what I've done here for every boss. And that's part of just the pre-prep of coming in for any sort of content, right? So it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's this or roof or whatever it is, you just need to be thinking ahead of time, because if you don't have those weapons made, your Sampire is not going to be very good, right? Like having the right weapons is really important on a Sampire. So there are other considerations to take into account as well, right? So like it's not just what's the lowest resist and what's the Slayer. That's part of it, obviously. Some of the other considerations might be like, are their resists really, really high? If their resists really high, it might make sense to use an armor ignore weapon, like a bladed staff or a hatchet. rather than Onslaught Double Strike, because you're just going to get better performance with Armor Ignore if the resistor is really, really high. We're talking like 80, 75, 80 resist or higher in a particular element, right? You can always target the lowest resist, right? Let's say they've got 85 plus resist, 80, 85 plus resist in all of the elements except for one, and then they've got one resist that's at 60 or less, then you would just make an axe for that low resist and then use Onslaught and Double Strike. It's just going to be a better overall DPS game. But if you've got, if all of their resists are, say, like 75, 80, 85, something like that, you've got no particular low resist to target, and it probably makes more sense to use a Bladed Staff and Armor Ignore. If there are also some monsters in the game that have really high wrestle and parry, right? Your chance to miss them is very high. And because Onslaught Double Strike requires you to first apply Onslaught for the double strikes to then be effective, you lose out on its efficiency when you miss a lot. Also, your second strike in Double Strike is reliant on the first one landing. So if you don't have a high chance to hit, Double Strike underperforms as well. And in those situations, Armor Ignore will also tend to outperform Onslaught Double Strike. So there's no bosses like that in here, so I brought full-on double axes. That being said, there's plenty of bosses in the game where that does apply, and you'll need to think about it, right? You'll need to think about it in your pre-prep phase when you're thinking about what weapons to make and for what bosses. So just keep that in mind. Right, so Darkfather's going to go down here, and I guess that's as good a time as any to talk about the chance to get a drop, right? So Darkfather has the highest chance to drop an artifact, but the other mini bosses also do have a chance, and each time you kill either the Darkfather or one of those mini bosses, that chance goes up if you didn't get one before. So there's some bad luck protection, right? So fail to kill a boss but fail to get a drop, your odds of getting one on the next boss go up until you actually get a drop, and then it resets back down to the standard drop chance. As you can see, I'm looting most of these bosses, and the loot's bad. Like there's nothing really worth looting off the corpses in here. So if you're coming in for the loot on the bosses, like on the corpses, you're gonna have a bad time. What you're here for is the artifact drops. This guy is an undead fire slayer. He does nothing really particularly special about him. He casting spells, hits a little hard. More than one can spawn. Up to 4 can spawn, depending on how many people are in the dungeon. But yeah, he should go down just the same as the rest of them, and you can cleave them down. You could use. I'm using Whirlwind. You could still just use Onslaught Double Strike and kill one and then the other. You could use, if your Bushido's high, you could use Momentum Strike when there are 2 of them. All of those are good options. So anyway, those will go down. And as I'm killing them, my chance to get an artifact will go up until I actually receive an artifact. The loot in Doom is just to say something about like in totality, like what the loot looks like in Doom for these artifacts. There's a lot of artifacts on the pool. Like of the artifacts, there's a large list of artifacts that can drop. Is what I'm trying to say. And the ones that are good, there's just a few of them, right? So both the chances to get an artifact are pretty low. The chances of getting a good artifact are even lower, and that makes running Doom maybe not. To me, it's not that appealing, but there's a nostalgia factor to Doom, and some of the, like I said, there are good artifacts in here, and maybe you need one. Maybe there's not one on the vendor search to buy or something like that, or you don't want to. You want to personally farm it. In that case, then coming to Doom maybe makes some sense. But you'll want to look at the list of things on UO.com. They have a list of stuff that drops from Doom and what it can be. Some of them can be like upgraded, right? They're like lesser artifacts, and you can use that Blood of the Darkfather that you saw drop on the Darkfather to then upgrade it and make better artifacts. And you'll just have to like vendor search those things, see what the prices are, maybe get it that way. Okay, so this is the real boss in Doom right here, the Flesh Render. These can spawn just like everything else, solos in pairs, singles or duos, or maybe up to four if there's a lot of people in here. You never want to pull more than one of these at a time, and the reason is because they will, after you do enough damage to them, they will go immune like this, and when they come out of the immunity, they will do a big chunk of damage to you, put a nasty poison on you, and then proceed to beat on you a little bit more, right? And they will just repeat this process. After you do enough of their health, they'll go immune like that. They'll do a big chunk of damage to you, poison you, and so forth and so on, right? So these can be a little tricky. They dismount frequently when they do their little when they do their ability that poisons you. They also will dismount you pretty frequently, and because of that, it's not very safe to bring your Proximus Swamp Dragon in. Because it's not safe to bring your Proximus Swamp Dragon in, you're taking full damage. And because he goes immune, you can't life leech him while he's immune, which runs you into the situation where sometimes you're not healing all the way to full before he gets that next big chunk of damage on you. And if you are trending towards, not full, like you get a little less full every time, then you're going to run into a spot where that big chunk of damage kills you. So the way I get around that is I get a Cleanse by Fire pre-casting. So I'm sitting here holding Cleanse by Fire. He goes immune. That's fine. When he comes out of the immunity, I'll have the Cleanse by Fire. You'll see me insta-cure it. Boom, it's gone. I go ahead and use Confidence to get a little bit of life drain while I'm life regen, that is, while I'm draining him. And then once I'm back at full, I cast Cleanse by Fire. So I precast it so it's ready for the next big chunk of damage. Then I cure right away. And just keep that process going. And it tends to be enough, right? Like you can see it. It works. It takes a little slow, but there's no real way around it. You have to go through these immunity phases. And yeah, you just want to do what I'm doing here, which is precast Cleanse by Fire, then walk in and send the pre-casted Cleanse by Fire, use Confidence to get a little life regen while you're hitting him. Then while he's immune, top yourself back off and get another Cleanse by Fire up and do it over and over again. Okay, so this is going to be as good a time as any to talk about my skills, my stats, and my gear. I figured I was going to get questions about this in the comments, so I went ahead and just made another video that completely goes over my whole thought process on why I take the skills I take, why I gear the way I do, all that stuff, right? And I'll link that video in the description. But just as a sort of brief overview, I take swords, 120 swords, 120 tactics, 120 anatomy, 120 chivalry, 100 Bushido, 120 resist, and 100 necro. And that's the build, right? I get in Vampiric Embrace with 100 necro. The Bushido allows me to use enemy of one, not enemy of one, honor a target and get perfection stacks in case it's not a slayer like these flesh renderers. Chivalry lets me use enemy of one, again, like for these for stuff that doesn't have a slayer, like these flesh renderers for enemy of one. And then the rest of the skills are primarily damage oriented. And I take resist in here because the tons of these monsters have Blood Oath. And currently I'm currently doing this while the Shattered Sanctum event is going on, and there's a lot of monsters in there that use Blood Oath. So having resist is just good right now for the content that I'm doing. Normally I wouldn't be running resist if I wasn't fighting something that did Blood Oath over and over again. And in that situation, I would, instead of running 120 resist, I would run 100 lumberjack, and with that 20-point discrepancy, I would run 120 Bushido instead of 100 Bushido. So that's what my build would normally look like. And then for the rest of the stuff, I'm just capping out, right? I have max damage increase on my gear, max hit chance, max 45 hit chance, max swing speed, which is for me swinging a double axe at max is 35 swing speed and more than 150 stand, which I think I'm running something pretty close to 200 stand. So That's nice. Having that buffer is nice. So yeah, that's pretty much my skills and my gear. Beyond that, the rest of Doom is pretty, straightforward. It's just a matter of trying to keep things moving along quickly and not dying. Right, like your biggest risk of death is here and on the Dark Fathers. The other bosses are pretty easy. So as long as you're not dying on these flesh renders, you're not dying on the Dark Father, then you're just trying to increase your DPS uptime and get these bosses down quickly. Get the pattern down. You kill one boss, you go clockwise in the rooms until you find the next boss. Well, it's always so, like these flesh renderers, when we kill them, the next boss will be in the room clockwise from this one. And then when we kill that one, it'll be in the one clockwise from that one. And you just keep running that until you get to the most clockwise room, and then it spawns the Dark Father, and then it fully resets, and you got to do it again. And doing it fast is the only way to really improve your odds on getting artifacts. Or bringing friends, right? Like, it's nice to have friends, and even better to do content with them. But if you don't have them, you can do it solo, like I'm doing. So you're just gonna have a much higher chances of getting some stuff out of here if you're doing it with multiple people. And it's gonna spawn a whole lot more bosses, right? Let's say you got 4 Dark Fathers, 4 Flesh Renders, 4 of every one of these mini bosses. Well, your bad luck protection goes through the roof, because all of a sudden you're getting that many more. You're stacking up that bad luck protection a lot faster because you're killing a lot more bosses. Right. So Flesh Render is dead. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this room and go to the last room that I haven't shown yet. And this last boss is it's a Demon Slayer, and I want to say, let's see here, let's check. It's a Demon Slayer, and it's it's poison damage, and it's a Demon Slayer. Yeah, there we go. Right, so got a poison axe, Demon Slayer on it, Demon Slayer cameo, and these guys, nothing too special about them. They're just they don't really do that much damage. They Blood Oath a lot. Apple the Blood Oath when it gets on you. Otherwise, they go down pretty fast. Nothing too special. Alright, so I'm going to close the video out here. If you've got any questions or comments about the way I did what I did, or you've got suggestions for content that you'd like to see, or just really anything, feedback, just let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching. I'll probably do roof next, but it's up in the air. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day.